So I call the regular board meeting of March 28th, 2024 to order. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
Allegiance.
Flag.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So the first gentleman, so we'll go through the roll call. So Earl Webb, Preston Lee, Richard Nichols, and Barbara Curtis are in chambers. I'm doing this by Zoom. Andrew Williams, I see. Austin Calaman is excused. He is the proud new daddy of a healthy baby, and was born yesterday. So we really want to send the best wishes to Austin. Robin Davis is the assistant general manager, and Max Walton is going to be our solicitor today. So the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve, or does anyone want to pull anything pulled from it?
There's something I'd like to pull from it. This is Barbara.
I don't think you're
Am I?
very.
Okay. There's something I'd like to pull from the minutes for December 7th. Number 13 says that the, if I can find it. Yeah. Mr. Calaman stated that the Cape School District does see an issue with the estimate, and it should be does not see.
Yes.
Any other comments on the consent agenda? Do I-
Approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so 5 votes for. Next, Inframark Report. So who's? Oh, okay, so we have Mike and Jeff.
Good evening. Good
Huh?
evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Okay,
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No,
okay, regarding the EQ tank project, the top rim bracing, that project's been completed. Everything looks good. Moving on to the headworks project, the Pistagrit and Lipactor have been demoed. The new compactor is in place, and they're awaiting a trough to be fabricated that will transport the materials from the 5mm screener to the new compactor. So everything seems to be going well there. Contractor's good to work with. And moving on to the filters, while attempting to complete a recovery clean on train 4 during the end of February, a PVC pipe broke. We fixed the pipe and put the train back online, and then we later completed the recovery clean on March 19th through the 21st. We did both the hypochlorite and citric acid recovery cleans. We put the train back online, and the TMPs did drop. So Veolia did send out a report saying that the recovery cleans were not effective, but they were referring to when the train was down when we first attempted to recovery clean. So that report the span of that report ended right before we did our recovery cleans last week. And the TMPs did drop pretty nicely for train 4. That was reflected on the automatically generated report that comes out on Sunday nights. So you could see the drop in TMP. Then we moved on to train 1 this week. We completed a hypochlorite recovery clean, but because the flows were high, we had to put the train back online. So we'll complete the citric acid recovery clean on train 1 next week. But we working with one of our other plants in Georgia that gentleman has a lot of, many years of membrane experience. We're modifying our procedures with recovery cleans. The original training that we got from Veolia was, or Suez at the time, was to only do 1 flush of the tank prior to the recovery clean and then dose the acid. So we were leaving there was a lot of solids remaining in the tank, and that would chew up the acid. So in Georgia, they do 3 rinses and then do the recovery clean. So we think it was much more effective. And we're doing the same procedure with train 1, and then we'll hit trains 2 and 3 later.
Is the only downside just the amount of time it takes, or?
Amount of time, and we use more water, but it's treated wastewater, so it takes more time. Pump more pumping, but no other downside. So we learned that, and we're working with this gentleman. Jeff's working with this gentleman to bring other procedures up to date with what they've been doing.
Have you provided that feedback to Viola?
I did. I sent an email today about the recovery cleans and let them know that we didn't do a recovery clean during the first week of March, and that we did a recovery clean last week.
No, I just, wondering for the best practices so they could share it with others, or maybe update their procedures.
Yeah, we'll share the procedures as well. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And then last thing I have, staff diagnosed, we've been having long run times at pump station 1, which is University of Delaware. We thought it was I&I, mostly I&I, but we found a cracked flange where the pump couples to the wet well piping, and we think that's what's causing our excessive run time. So we're getting quotes to repair that piping. And I did want to mention on the nitrates, I know I mentioned it last month, but the nitrate was high in February. And like I said, it seems to be seasonal. We kept it below the permit limit, by dosing more micro C, but things have returned to normal, and our total nitrogen in our process samples have been low. They've all been less than 5.
That answered one of my.
Yeah, mine as well.
I know this is, and it's not in this reporting period, but can you just get the board up to speed on what's going on with the backup generator?
The current issue with backup generator?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Cummins was out to service the generator a couple of weeks ago, and then we got a low coolant alarm, and Jeff called Eric from BPW. Eric, right?
Yes, sir.
And Eric and Emmett came out, and it looked like there was coolant on the dipstick. So we were alarmed and got Cummins out to look at it today, and they checked it out, and they said there was no coolant in the oil, and there was no oil in the coolant. So
This generator at the plant.
at the plant,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're topping off the generator. Cummins service guy wasn't a lot of help, but they didn't bring coolant with them. But I mean, we went out and got coolant and we're topping off the generator. So it's back online and everything's fine. We were mostly concerned that there was that there was coolant in the oils, which
Yeah.
there wasn't. So,
Oh, okay, great. That's fantastic news. Thank you.
Where are we with the liquid sludge loading connection and the foam pump modifications?
we don't have updates. I don't know, Charlie.
They were supposed to be done by Q1 2024.
BPW has an agreement with Harry Caswell. We've heard rumors that there was a purchase, change of hands in that business. I think Jeff tried to reach out to him. We didn't get anything. We haven't heard back about those projects.
Well, they've submitted shop drawings for review and we're in the
Okay.
process of reviewing it.
Okay.
So it's a little bit behind schedule, but they are working.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Charlie.
And then I'd like to congratulate Kurt Brittingham and Josh Owens. Good work.
Thank you. We'll let them know.
Okay.
And that we do, so Josh is a newer employee. We just brought him on in October, November, and we fast tracked him to get licensed and he's already become licensed, got his level 1. Any other questions?
Where are we? I know I ask this occasionally, and I guess I've forgotten the answer on the other generator at pump station number 4.
Uh,
I'd like to get a permanent one in there.
Yeah, we're still working with Austin on that. Austin had gotten, I think he's got a lead on a used 100 kW generator that he asked our electrician to check out and make sure it would work. And from our perspective, we think it will work. I think we maybe want to get a generator guy to confirm that, before making that purchase. I think that could be a good option. I know it's just, I think Austin, don't want to speak for him, but because of the uncertainty, with what's going to happen at pump station 4, if it needs to be added a pump, with the the project with the county. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Mike, you hit it on the head. Austin has sourced an alternative, but we had agreed that we would postpone until we had better visibility on what we're doing with pump station 4 and pump station 8 for that matter.
We're paying fair money for that, the one that's there. We'd like to get that resolved.
Yeah, well,
We
we
could-
also looked at another option about getting a 4-inch bypass pump. That way we could permanently, or not permanently, but put the 6-inch bypass pump at station 4. And then we could get rid of that generator. And then if we had a power failure, we could put the 6-inch online. Jeff had Freemeyer out with a 4-inch or with paper, to go over what they have in their in their inventory for a 4-inch. And I think Austin met with them. So that's that option seems to be a good option for us. And the bypass pumps are much more readily available than the generators. There's less lead time.
And it would be usable at other places.
Correct. And a lot of the small pump stations, the 6 inches overkill. So the 4-inch would work better at the small pump stations.
Thanks for the dimming of the lights at pump station 4, by the way.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I was blinded one night coming home.
Anything else for Inframark?
Well,
No.
Well, thank you very much, guys.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on. President's report. It was a little bit of a quiet month. We had meetings with the county on the wastewater treatment facility. Austin, Robin, and Earl and I met with the Burton some development folks about the concerns on water. I went to a budget review as each of the individuals on the board have been. So we've been through the budget. And we had a meeting last week with DEMEC relative to the Cape Henlopen State Park. And this is the ongoing discussions of us taking their flow from Cape Henlopen. And I feel much, much more positive now. The state seems to have come around and those discussions will be ongoing. So, General Manager's report, Mr. Robin.
Austin had put a memo in the packet for you. Some of the things, as Tom has already said, Teal continues to work on Donovan Smith. We have,
How are we on the dates for that to be finalized? Are we close or how many days are we out?
November 24 is the end of the contract. Yes,
So
November
we'll
20.
hit that, we'll
I'm
hit
sorry,
that
yeah.
date?
It's from what it looks like, yes.
Good, good. Any
Uh,
concerns from the people at Donovan Smith at all, or I wasn't in the last
No
meeting.
major concerns. There were same concerns about maybe some runoff with the construction, trying to get around the construction
Right.
vehicles, but overall, I think everything's doing pretty good.
Good. Thank you.
We have hydrant flushing on April 3rd and 4th. That's next Wednesday and Thursday. Notices went out already. We're going to be sending an email blast out. Email blast went out this afternoon. The household hazardous waste and drug take back is Saturday, April 27th. Austin's noted, as Tom noted, we met with some of the residents at Burton subdivision about water quality. He attended the DEMEC meeting, continued discussions with the county, had his normal leadership meeting with the city. Met with rural water. Me and him and Eric met on some sampling discussions. GMB attended the WEAC meeting about the NOIs for the two projects, the 4th Street and the Hornkill, that we can discuss a little later. And attended the annexation committee meetings on the Warrington Farm property. He also noted on the back that there's a APPA national conference coming in June, if anybody wants to go. He didn't say exact dates, he just said in June. Right,
It's usually Father's Day weekend.
okay. Other than that, that's basically it for his report.
Yeah, so one correction on my part, there'll probably be lots more of them, but it was Richard Nichols that attended the Burton subdivision meeting, not Earl. So sorry for that.
Can I ask one question on the closeout for Mariners Retreat? What's left to be done there?
There are some punch list items that the city, that the developers working on. There's city stuff and I think BPW stuff, water sewer. I don't know from the city side what there is left on the city side.
Hey, Charlie O'Donnell. It a little bit rests in our court in that the developer's done some things, but Ben and I need to determine if there's anything left. There were big things, like they needed to bring the sanitary sewer cleanouts and the water meter pits and the water house service valves up to grade. And they put that back on each homeowner. What I'm not 100% sure is if every one of those have been addressed. We delineated every one that needed to be addressed. That's a big thing. They did get their as-built in. They did install sidewalk in those empty sections. There's some issues with getting the maintenance bond and the surface asphalt bond too, related to the developer's insurance company that we need to work out. But I think Mayor Ben and I need to jump back into it and just figure it all out and get it.
They're
cleared
at
up.
the percentage of occupancy and all that, yeah?
Yeah, 'cause
They're ready to be
they
turned
put the
over?
surface paving in, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So is it typical for the residents to be responsible for that, what you were talking about?
Moving forward, it will be, yeah. Like what
Okay.
we have at Old Town, at White's Pond is the developer has forget exactly what he calls it, a damage deposit with every lot owner to cover those kinds of things at the end of the project. Because it really, you can't tell that it's not right until after the house has been built and all the landscaping's done.
That's typical.
So that's, we started it at Old Town and we'll continue that process with every development.
Thank you.
All right,
I would do.
all right, so now we're on to new business, item 7. Sussex County Land Trust. Ring Lardner will be presenting for the Land Trust.
Another TV show. My name is Rick Lardner. Most of you know kind of know me from dealing with Davis Bond and Friedel. So happy.
The voice just cut out. Hello?
Can you hear us, Tom?
Oh,
Bob, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
All right, I'll stop loud enough. You can go up to the microphone. That works for you. So with me this evening is Mark Chur, the Executive Director of the Sussex County Land Trust. And Tom and I was saying, we're just here to kind of provide an update. I know I've had a brief discussion with Austin and Robin and Ben and Charlie about what we plan on doing with a property just on the outside of the city limits. I believe there's been some minor discussion with the board, so we thought we'd come here today with kind of an update of what we plan on doing. So what we're talking about is a project called Arden and Grand property. You all may know it better as the Miller Farm, located off of Old Orchard Road. Is bounded to the west by the railroad tracks. I just had a complete moment of loss of the subdivision. Waterfront Preserve, thanks, Mark. And then access is off of Donovan Street. It is adjacent to the city of Lewes limits. The parcel identified, it kind of came to us as an opportunity for the land trust, time for habitat preservation, rehabilitation, and creation. That had agriculture throughout most of the property. There's some wooded areas. I think the microphones work, so I have to yell as loud. And some marshland up by Canary Creek. And Tom, you can't see my pointer, so hopefully you can kind of follow what I'm presenting. With this, got some beautiful scenery, so I'm gonna just flip to a couple of pictures. That's the road kind of headed back into the property. Looking at the adjacent Canary Creek. Again, looking at some water on the property, the fence line, so you can tell it's a beautiful property that exists in and around the city. And that's the existing home that the current residents live there, will be there for the rest of their lives as part of the current agreement. We are the contract purchaser for the property. The land trust is, the property value is $8.5 million. We're currently in strategic planning for the land acquisition of the property. Talking to many different entities. The crystal ball is getting clear, still a little cloudy, but we do have a path forward. And
Is it fair to say that the $8.5 million is actually below real estate development
Below real estate
prices?
value, yes, sir, that is a fair statement.
Okay, thank you.
We have $1 million donation already for, so the other 7.5 million. So we believe by the end of 2025, we will have the funds to purchase the property, to then be able to go to settlement. And also part of it is we're also looking at strategic partnering for the long term. And it's part of the reason why we're here today to talk about, some benefits, advantages between the land trust and the board. And that is adjacent to the city. It does provide an opportunity for some water main extensions to allow looping the project because you're currently dead end down New Road. I'm also well aware of the wells that exist on Kings Highway. And I know you're looking at saltwater intrusion. I've been talking to Austin and some other work that I'm doing. So this may be an opportunity to provide some additional backup wells in addition to the sole well field. I do know there's electric power nearby that's kind of has a resiliency concern. So this could be an opportunity to partner. And what we're looking for is kind of like a long-term lease standpoint of things, nothing an immediate cash flow, just something that'll be ongoing.
And I know Robin, that, we don't have, Austin here. Any projection on when we're going to get the wellhead protection study completed? And I know it's not on us, but
I don't know, honestly, I don't. I'm
Okay.
just scared to say.
okay.
I think we
Thanks.
talked a year ago, it's gonna be another year and it could be, the money pit in 2
Yeah.
weeks and it's been, how
Yeah.
long have they been saying? So I do know they're working on it, but we talked about that last time we got together, so. I think we're all hoping in the next year or two, because I know it's some valuable information for the board to have. So our point today was just to kind of present to you kind of where we are with the acquisition of the property, to have the continuing dialogue, of working together. Again, I think there's some help with the board of that piece of land, kind of bridging a gap that currently exists, in the area of the city. And so with that, then if you had any questions for either Mark or I, that we'd be able to answer of you this afternoon.
What mentioned that you wanted you were thinking of an ongoing contribution. What was,
Like a long-term lease, Mr. Lee, so in other words, the easement could be, instead of an immediate payment, it could just be over a longer period of time. Same if you decided that you're interested in either, putting a well field or treatment, it could be a long-term lease for that property. So there wasn't an immediate cash outlay of the board, it could be something that could be stretched over time. We're not looking for a cash infusion for the maintenance. For us, it's more of a long-term to help with the maintenance cost of the property.
So maybe a wastewater treatment plant.
I don't know if we can go that far, but I'm sure we can help with disposal of
Good
some
try.
of the wastewater and things. And I do like the thought behind that, Ms. Curtis.
I do think at some point, if we could come out and actually see the property.
Absolutely, I'd love to have you out
Yeah.
there.
You're the second person to say that. We haven't had an invitation on that, but I
The
think.
invitation is now extended. I'll work with Austin. We'll get something set up. So that way, if we have a quorum, we've announced it properly and we absolutely would love to have you come out and join us to visit the site.
It's good, thank you.
Ring, does the price point come with the conservation easement, or is that limited use?
The price point, and Mark, please correct me if I'm dirty saying something I probably shouldn't say. So.
That's
you're
what I was saying.
involved in that contract.
The land would be bought fee simple.
Okay.
Now, we have with some of our other partners, they would impose potentially certain easements on it. None of those would preclude the issues that we're talking about here. The only issue that's come up in the negotiation of this property has been with the owners. They did not want to see a really big water tower there. Now, it could be maybe a shorter water tower. Talk about that.
Right.
But that in negotiation, they are a third generation farm family that the husband and wife have no heirs. But they'd like to preserve their family legacy and keep that in agriculture as much as possible. But they're also practical. And they understand that at 8.5 million, that they can't, they can't expect it to be, it's not going to be just frozen in time. So I think that we can, to your point, we can accommodate the things that I know we had talked about at an earlier meeting with no problem.
Can you get a farm easement on that to reduce some of the cost?
Working on it.
Okay, that should be fairly easy, right?
The price point's price point. So having partners is what helps us bridge the funding gap. The price
Yeah.
point doesn't come down, that is the sale price. So if it's our job to find partners to help fund the money. And so in agriculture is one avenue we are looking at.
Even if it was half of,
Well,
of the. of the
Last
property.
year, in December, the Open Space Council did authorize $575,000 towards the property. And that will amount to about a 6-acre easement on the property for conservation uses. We're talking about the area, most likely closer up to Canary Creek, covering that area. And some of that would be wet, some of it would be uplands. We are working with federal and state agencies relative to agriculture. It's a long process.
Is the land uses potential the same or greater or less than the 4th Street forest?
The intent of this property, I think, is it's been, I think.
I don't blame you, by the
This is
way.
even working. Good. The 4th Street property has really been described as very passive, with a walkway coming from one end to the other. This property, is intended to kind of do the same. It's really more of a preserve. That's why it's called that. It is not intended for active recreation. This is not a ball field or a pickleball court kind of thing. What we are looking though is to continue the agricultural heritage of the property. We've also been talking to entities that would provide an education on a variety of fronts. And that's understood by the owner. So, small education facility without building is definitely possible at this site. And yeah, so I think in that sense, what our intent is, I think, as you all know, this is the 3rd property that the trust has been working on, where it's right on the junction of Breakwater, Lewes to Georgetown Trail Network. And this one will have, just like the other 2 have, or will have, a trail that comes off and will go around the property in some sense, and it'll be for hiking and biking. So there will be those activities there as well. Potential for kayak launch in the future once the Delta kind of does their thing and you can get out to the Great Marsh.
9-hole golf course?
Floating maybe, but they're.
All right, there's no other questions. We thank you for your time.
Thanks,
And-
guys.
and
Appreciate it.
we'll reach
Good
out to
project.
Austin or Robin,
Yeah.
also be out for a little while to set up a site visit.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Okay. Open forum general discussion on BPW's in-person voter registration. So I turn this over to Sharon and Chris.
Yep, so we currently have 4
Can I just say
candidates.
one
Yeah.
thing? So in full disclosure, I was on the Greater Lewes Foundation for a period of time. I then recused myself and because I thought it was a conflict between the two. I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you. Sorry.
So we do have 4 candidates, so it looks like we will be having an election this year. Typically, we follow what the city does for their open registration. However, the city this year has moved to state registration, so they will not be holding an open Saturday or evening extra hours for registration. So we do need to pick a date for us to do. I will be the person doing that. So if I get a choice, I would like to do April 16th and stay open till 7 o'clock. Any thoughts on that? Our charter or in section 2.79 says 1 Saturday or 1 evening within 30 days. So that's why we got to do it a little bit later.
How many do we typically get for walk-in registration?
Last year, we did it on a Saturday and we saw 2 people.
Okay. Sense of the board?
One did, one did not.
I have a question and it may not be the right forum for it, but we have 3 board members up for reelection. And last year we had 2 and next year we'll have none. Wouldn't it make sense to stagger it a little bit so we're not faced with possibly a majority turnover in the board? And it,
Well, that's a charter discussion. So we certainly bring that up, but that's a charter change.
okay. All right, thank you. I thought it might not be the right place, but
No, and I'm not shutting it down, but
There were a lot of items that we wanted to look at. I think we talked about it at the early policy workshop. And so it was on the list. We just haven't got to that yet.
But then you'd have 1 year where you have like one person running.
Right, right.
So the excitement and voting, it wouldn't be very much.
Sounds
Well, you might have
Throw your
4
board.
people running for one seat. I don't know. Could be exciting.
sounds
Well,
like
it would also increase our costs, by having to run an extra election, but we can debate that another time.
Good question.
All right, so we have a request for the 16th of April in the evening. Any opposition to that?
What would be the hours?
So I would be here 4 to 7, so it'd be an additional 3 hours we would be open.
Are we supposed to be there?
No,
No?
it's-
Okay.
And Chris. Chris is on vacation, so it'll just be me.
Oh,
Can you handle all 2 people?
I think I can do
All right, so we have a motion. Someone want to make a motion to hold the session on the 16th from 4 to 7?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Get your rest. April 16th. 4 to 7 p.m. Okay. Moving on. Open forum general discussion on the water, sewer, electric impact fees.
Tom, if I may, below that, item 10 and number 11 is a request from the Public Art Committee.
Yeah,
The bike and ped I don't know if anybody's here from there. I mean, I don't know if they want to sit here and listen to the
no,
fees, which is fine, but if, I didn't know if they,
I think that's right, Robin. Is that so?
so
Is,
adjust that so they could go ahead and go now.
sure. Okay, so moving to
Don't
item
need Austin
10.
anymore. You're the guy.
Moving to item 10. Public Arts Committee. Is anyone here representing them?
Can she sit here? Cause she can have a microphone? Doesn't matter to me.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
It's up to you.
Welcome to, you can be Tom Panetta. Tom, you've been replaced.
Yeah, really.
Oh.
Yeah,
All right, I'll sign off
Good
now.
run.
It's time for my nap.
Sit way over here. Huh?
Yeah.
This is great.
This may make you want to run for one public work.
Yeah.
I got enough boards over here. Oh, my gosh. Is this on?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it. And thank you for your help in the past. We have worked together on the canal front installation, and I'm back.
The mural on the back of the.
Oh, yeah, and on the
Yep.
mural, which is awesome, and everybody still compliments, and we have T-shirts for sale too, $45. They're at the shop, my shop, on 119 Front Street. So I'm Heidi Lowe. I don't know if you guys know, but I am. And we have a sculpture coming. We actually have 6 sculptures this year. We have upgraded our installation at HP Smith Park by a Baltimore artist, Daniel Smith. Paul Daniels is his name. I don't know what's happening. This is the wrong one.
Wrong one. Wrong one.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
wrong one. There you go.
Thank you. So in the HP Smith Park, we're bringing Paul Daniels sculptures, 6 of them, and they're all kinetic sculptures interacting with the environment. I'm trying to pull in University of Delaware and an engineer and have some type of discussion about our area and wind and these sculptures on the 25th of April. But in order to put these sculptures up, actually just one of them, I need a little bit of help. It has 150-pound arm that needs to go up 15 feet. And I would really appreciate if I could borrow your boom truck with maybe some help with the boom truck that we borrowed for the one in the park. I would appreciate it on the 24th of April if it's possible. The artist is coming the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. I figure the 24th is probably the safest, but it's all weather dependent. And we could do any of those days depending on what you are available for.
Robin, any concerns at all on that?
Boom truck?
No, I don't think so. I'd give a ret and find out again. As Heidi said, we assisted with the sculpture at the park. It's just, I think the board wanted to have a discussion on this just to see how they felt about it. The last time, I think we just moved forward with it, but I think we've helped in the past. We just have, be concerned to make sure there's no liability on our end if something happens.
So this is just a
And-
few hours
Yep.
of the boom truck.
Yeah, it's a few hours and it would be that arm this is the one that's going into the pond, which is very cool. In HP Smith Park, which that's a little map.
I guess the question, Heidi, is the boom truck, would we be booming to that location in the water?
No, not in the water. We would be outside of the water on stable ground, kind of like we were in a canal front. And then we would be sliding the entire thing already assembled into the water. And then we have a rowboat that we're going to anchor it.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's the what I was thinking.
Yeah,
about.
so,
Thank
but
you.
we probably will need to bring the boom truck into the park.
Okay, and that might be a thing, because I think the park does belong to the city.
Are you
So,
coordinating that with Janet already, or?
Oh, yes, see, Tim's got my
Okay.
back.
yeah, we would, the moving around with just, again, it's.
Yeah, as
city
long
limits,
as
so
Janet's
Okay.
in the loop on that,
Yep.
that should be.
And how do I confirm those dates with you?
I can follow up with Rhett tomorrow and then,
perfect.
or well, won't be tomorrow, sorry, be early next week.
Yeah, sounds
We're
good.
off tomorrow, so,
Okay,
and then what I can probably do is Rhett, usually I can give him your number, your contact,
Yep.
and Rhett will usually like talk directly.
okay,
to you, and
perfect. That's
Maybe
great.
meet out there and kind of get a
Yep.
coordination going.
Yeah, because it could go at any point of
Okay.
that part of the pond, so whatever he thinks is best is, I'm happy,
And
whatever.
then just at the end, we just have to make sure we have something from the city saying we're okay to be out there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's a tentative yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
If the board says okay.
She's the president.
This is great.
I should know this, but are you part of the city?
I am. I'm a
So-
committee of the city.
So we're. okay.
Janet is.
We're okay as far as legal issues, as far as liabilities and so forth.
Yes.
Okay, I think on on the building on Chalet Avenue, we had to get an agreement with the artist or something, but I guess we don't need
We
this.
do
for
have an
this.
agreement with them we do have a contract with them. Not to use
I-
the boom truck, but
Yeah, I was just thinking about liabilities, but there's
Mhm.
no issue with that.
General liability should cover anything that goes along with it.
When the sculpture is finished, is a boom truck needed to retrieve it?
oh, good question.
Ah.
I would say yes. And that will be in October. So I'll be back. I'll be back to see you then, or we can organize in it.
Well,
Yeah,
I would
if
suggest,
the-
I would suggest we do it all now and just authorize staff to coordinate it. Because
Thank you.
it's got to come out, so let's handle it once.
I love it. Thank you. And thank you for supporting the arts. We really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for
Well, thank you for bringing them. It's part of the town.
Thank you.
So what are the dates again? When are they gonna be?
It's going in the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We're going to have a reception on the night of the 25th with the artist. And possibly, I'm trying to make connections.
This is April.
April,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Mhm.
That's
It's
it's
right
there.
around the corner.
Great, and it's there until,
October, we'll know the dates, closer to then, but Paul is great and it's really a cool grouping of sculptures that will be all the way around the park. So this is one that we really need help with, but there are 6 in all.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of it.
yeah, it's very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for moving me up. I appreciate
Do
it.
you want to, I'm new here.
Oh.
So do you need a motion? I mean, I don't think it would hurt to be a motion to authorize.
Yeah, I guess, do a motion to authorize staff to organize this.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Max.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting.
All right, next up, is anyone there from Bike and Ped?
I just had one question for Heidi. Do you need any help otherwise from volunteers or? Yes, yes, okay. On those days? Oh, thanks. Okay. My name's Glenn Dunnington. I'm here representing the Bike and Pedestrian Committee in Lewes. And I'm here to ask to put a picnic table in the canal, the pump station. What number of pump station is this, by the way? See?
Four.
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 Okay. So we have been, put together a presentation here. I'll go through it quickly. What drove us to this is, or what got us to this is we've been trying to alleviate the congestion of bike parking in town on sidewalks in front of people's driveways. And we added a couple bike racks in town. And we see that the bike corral is pump station 4 is underutilized. So we're trying to enhance it and make it more convenient for people, bring attention to it. So we have, there's families that come there with their bikes, and I've been there myself and talked to people, and a table would really help the use of the park. And so again, we'd like to get people to park there rather than in town on the sidewalks. So I've met with the Dogfish folks, Dogfish Inn across the street, and realized I knocked on your door when.
Okay.
I was trying.
I was hiding. I saw you. I didn't. Actually, I saw you out there and I was like, what is this guy doing? So I wasn't sure.
There's considerations that we need to address. The main one, I guess, is not blocking any access of your trucks or other maintenance with the pump station there, and then being kind to the neighbors. So the Dogfish Inn are very happy about us doing something there. And I assume.
The only question I would have, because I pick up trash every second day, there's got to be a trash can out there.
Yes.
Especially if there's a
That was
picnic
brought to
table.
my attention. And who maintains the place, the grounds there now?
I'm not sure.
If there's a facility there, the city would pick up I would assume the maintenance would pick up the like they would downtown. They would service the can, I would assume.
Yeah, there just needs to be a can there,
Yeah.
just like there's down at the bridge.
It would just become part of the rotation of
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
would do downtown, I would think.
So, yeah, if we put a picnic table in, we would need to have likely a trash and a recycling there. And there's trash there, like you say, there's trash that would alleviate your having to
Yeah.
pick up other trash, I guess.
It's not onerous per se, but it would be helpful.
So specifically, what we're looking for is approval of now to put an 8-foot picnic table there. The next slide shows where I'm suggesting. And then we're also going to better utilize the bulletin board. Heidi's been working on some art to have a sign that says here's bike parking. And all the other future consideration is we'd like to put a mural on the building there. I've been working with Austin on this, and he tells me that I understand that there's question about what happened to that pump station, but it'll probably be 5 or 6 years before that building would be changed, if it ever is.
It's not only the pump station, we could have a larger pump station and take some of the racks out. When it was allowed to put racks in there with an agreement with the city, that doesn't give up our rights to use the whole property if needed at some point. It's not in our planning right now, but it could very well.
You may have a larger footprint.
We may have, yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully if the cable would, I mean, that's easy enough to move around that it wouldn't impact. The other things we've thought about making the area more, enhancing it, is perhaps some planters, Lewis and Bloom. And then we've talked about if they can have access to water. I don't know if that's possible. There's no water bib outside of there now, but that's we can discuss that later. And that's it. And
Surprised there's no.
At least I didn't see of any.
Yeah,
There's water access there that
Oh,
they
I'm
can,
sure.
people fish there and all kinds of.
How many layers does that go down there? You've got to, it goes.
It's long ways.
down a long way.
Exactly, but
I guarantee it's at least, in low tide, it's at least 8 feet,
Okay.
at least 8 feet.
So what I'm asking for now, so this is my real bad sketch of what, of the area, but next to the, see, is there a pointer on this thing? Anyway. So next to the bike corral now, there's a couple utility poles. So what I'm suggesting is that there's an area that we could nestle a 8-foot table in there. It would require some gravel, the removal of the grass, and the town Janet has said that she thinks we can do this. And so I'm asking, okay, thanks. Oh, I'm sorry. Right, oh, that's red. Okay, yeah. So right there. So there's a pole here and a pole there existing. And the air pumps here. So there's room, I think there's room here for a picnic table to allow people access to the bike route. It wouldn't impinge upon on your driveway, I think. So I guess what I'm asking for is you guys, folks, to say, yes, that makes sense. And then here's what we have to do to get the details nailed down about how it would work. So.
I have a question. A picnic table implies that people might be eating there,
Yes.
and it doesn't seem like a desirable place for picnicking. I'm wondering if maybe a couple benches might be more appropriate.
Well, it's not always smelling. It is at times, but
It's the
I
thoughtful
can
flow.
vouch for that.
Right. Yeah. You know, benches so they could have a place to stage their stuff, sit down, change into their regular walking shoes, that sort of thing would be maybe just as helpful, if not more. I don't know. Did you consider that?
yeah, and I guess what we thought the thought process here is put something there, see how it's used. Seth Block, who manages the hotel, keeps an eye on that, on the place, and she can help us with that. But in the future, I thought, I mean, there's canal view here, like a bench over here, so people can view the canal. And I wouldn't expect people to stay there for hours on that, but a picnic table would be better for families that are unpacking and 8-foot table, I think wouldn't stop the.
I think that bench is a good idea. I really do. Whether it's looking over the water or, because people do, they have their clips on and they change their shoes and that kind of stuff. It's something to think about.
So
Robin, do you have any concerns over emergency access or heavy equipment access?
it looks like where they're putting the picnic table, it wouldn't be in the way of anything. I mean, the bikers are gonna be coming down in the driveway area anyway to park their bikes in the bike corral. So I don't think the picnic table is adding any more.
The only change
People.
is the picnic table.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the locations back there is just, yeah, I don't think adding the picnic table would invite more people to go walking around the pump station.
Emergency generator there, now, or emergency pump or temporary?
Is that what the equipment is?
That's
That's
usually
on
what,
the other side.
yeah.
On the left side.
There was an item right here, I guess it's not anymore, but
Ah.
Yeah, there was a bypass pump there. There's that exhaust unit sits there in that.
Yeah, there's one on the other side.
So I'm assuming all this area here would be totally off limits for anything we would do, but potentially in the future here, a bench but now to start with here, let's see how they would use that. And then in the future, what we'd like to, when we get some money together, like to ask you folks to approval to put a mural here. Heidi has an idea for a really cool neon sign, which we would, say again?
Neon as in lighted,
Okay,
Very cool.
yeah.
as in lighted.
Yeah, a little lit neon sign that just goes like.
As a person who lives there, I can understand that.
It would draw. But we wanted to draw attention to the area. My first thought was, when you go buy a used car, they have these things that blow up and go.
Would support.
That's a lot better than that. So anyway, well, that's for future.
And they can turn off after biting hours.
Say again?
They can turn off after biting hours.
Oh, there we go.
The sign, not you.
Yes. Don't turn off. So that's,
Well, there's another piece of equipment there, the filter that sits there.
That's what I was talking about. That's
Yeah.
usually in that little area. It's, I don't know if it's that big is what's on that
It's
picture,
but
but
it's pretty big.
yeah, it
unit.
sits in that corner, that
So-
right front corner of
Yeah.
the,
If there were another emergency, as there was in the past at that pump station for, I don't know, whatever reason, does additional equipment need to go in there and need to be accessed temporarily where the gravel and concrete bike corral?
I think the last
Is-
time we had the emergency, everything, the pump was put in front of the pump station building, wasn't it? Wasn't it in front?
I wasn't part of that,
Oh,
so I
that's
don't know,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Wasn't part of that fun.
But you're right. I mean, they have to be able to move around with big equipment in there. And I was thinking, you mentioned also landscaping, which would be right up around maybe the billboard there.
yeah, well, if we put some planters in the future, possibly along the edge between Earl's property and
Oh, okay.
the pump station area, but not, I think anywhere in this driveway area, I would expect not to.
Because when they're working there, they even go up on the banks of that, on Gills Neck Road and Savannah area, that whole bank. They actually put equipment up there. It is a tight area, so I wouldn't do anything. You're not suggesting at this point. I wouldn't do anything that's, say, north of the
So
pump station.
on the picture here, are you talking about, the area?
Where the,
Back here? you're
no, I'm up front along the road.
along here?
Yeah, any of that right at that corner. I wouldn't plant anything there, maybe some flowers around the bike, the billboard there. You could put some small things there, but I wouldn't do much in that area because they really get into that area when there's a problem.
And I may be wrong, but I think at this request, it's only for the picnic table.
Yes,
Okay,
So in the future, we could get more details.
And a trash can.
yes.
Yeah,
Are-
aware of what the planners are gonna be, what it's
Yeah.
gonna look like, what the mural's gonna look like. But-
Does the bike corral, as it's schematically shown, does that exist now?
Oh, yeah.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing they're adding is that little square there,
where, yeah.
right there. That's it.
And there's a bike pump.
Yeah.
Station here
Yeah.
that I'm. told that they're-
It needs to be made better than it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct, correct.
So I guess what I'm looking for now is to answer any questions and for the board to say this is okay, and then I would work with Austin and Robin for a specific location and then the town to get it.
Glenn, I would assume it's just as easily removed as it is installed, yeah? It's not a permanent, I mean, it's not gonna have concrete,
Nailed it.
yeah.
And the mural would be on the building, is that what you're saying?
But that could come back at a later
Is my face on
date.
that? Is that the way that works?
That's later.
Is my face on that mural? Is that? I'm kidding.
So I think we're looking for a motion to say,
That's what I need.
so I think we're looking for a motion is to have Bike and Ped work with the staff for the location of the public, the picnic table only. And in the future, anything that would be needed, they would come back to us for.
Yes, that would be.
But not the Boy Scout,
Well, that's, yeah, it's on the current. Is that something that's gonna happen now?
Yeah, our plan is to, I sort of was thinking that the Boy Scout sign or bulletin board, we could do what we want with it with the towns.
That already exists, though.
That's already there.
That board is there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, so this is just a matter of putting something on it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's already there.
Okay.
The board. Are you familiar with it?
I wonder how
See
I
where it says
missed it.
bulletin, like that
Yeah.
square there? That exists.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've
what
never
we
looked at
expect to do is put on this side of the board, have a beautiful piece of art that draws your attention to park there. And then the dog fishing says that people come there looking for
Things to do.
and there's not much there, so maybe that's another discussion, is how better to utilize that.
But where did you say the sign would be, or what you're proposing?
It's there already.
So there's an existing bulletin board right here, right next to the road.
Right, I know that. yeah.
And we're just gonna put a sign on that. board.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah,
no, and
sure.
then the mural later we'll talk about when we figure, get some funding and define what art we want there. We'll come back for you on that one.
Just for clarification, I guess it's the approval for the picnic table only. They'll be coming back in future considerations for the planners, and the mural on the wall and all that.
If we get Lewis and Bloom more interested in supporting some planners yeah, so that's future stuff.
Look, I live there and I'm wildly supportive of this. I think what I would do if I was gonna think further down the line, I would put the biggest tree I could put over there and have it grow, because that's what people really need.
Mhm.
They're riding the bike, they're hot, they want to get in the shade. Something along those lines, I think would be very, very helpful.
You're saying in that open space beyond the utility
Yeah.
poles?
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
I can put that as a future, along with these other things, then we come back and specific location for that. So what would be just a picnic table for now? It would be the picnic table and a couple of trash receptacles, which I would assume we could put back. So it's two things.
Probably makes sense to fix the receptacles to those utility poles if possible.
Yeah.
Can they be accessed by the pickup easily?
That's, yeah.
Well, so what they would typically do is they have the, like downtown, they have those metal bins and then inside sits a trash can. So they come over, they lift the lid, they take that out, and they dump it and they put that
Wait,
back
what?
in.
That's pretty good.
So yes, the picnic table and two trash receptacles is what I'm asking for now.
Recyclable and not recyclable, basically.
Right, yeah.
Great idea.
What color?
The picnic table? You have to go for H Park for that.
Colors to fit in with the functioning of the pump station.
Brown.
Oh, goodness.
Thanks for the time.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the installation of an 8-foot picnic table as shown on the presentation from the Bike and Ped Committee,
Trash receptacle.
and 2 trash receptacles.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now going backwards. Item 9. Open forum general discussion on the updating of water, sewer, and electric impact fees. So I turn this over to Kim and Robin at this point.
Okay, in your packet, Austin had prepared a staff memo detailing the proposed increases to the impact fees, and that's across the board for water, sewer, and electric. Just for some general reference, the last time the water impact fees were updated was 2002. The electric was 2004. And sewer was periodically updated since about 2007 to current. There has been some discussion at the board about doing this for a while. If you look at the fee schedule that Austin had submitted, I think he just put in the new fee rate. And the old fee rate was on the website and in our fee book. He did the calculations using the CPIU to bring it up to the current figures that you see in the impact fee tables that he completed.
Will PPIU be used going forward as well?
That was the plan.
That was
And with
the
that-
suggestion.
Would that be on an annual basis?
Yes.
Yes. Good idea.
As you see in the sewer section, we currently have like 14, 15 different zones, which is very cumbersome. A lot of other municipalities just do one fee. And that's what the new proposal shows. The fee was based off the vacant lot current fee, and then he adjusted using that to get you to the current fee, which shows at $3,682.
I have a 1 inch, I think, meter coming into my house. Why wouldn't I pay more than someone who has 5/8?
We didn't do any changes to that. We didn't do any changes in the method. Okay, I'll do that. I'll use that word. Just for simplicity right now, to get the price, the change updated right now. I guess there could be a discussion if you want to discuss it now. Normally, the 5/8 meters and the 1 inch meters are basically the same. Yes, there is a difference. Yes, you could say there's
You go from 5/8 to 1 1 1/4.
Mhm.
It just seems like there should be uplift on that second piece.
that is something that can be discussed, and if that's what the board wants to do, that can be done. Again, just for this exercise, it was just bringing everything up.
I understand.
And I mean, we can make the change now, or if that can be part of a future discussion.
I
So
think we should make the
Rob-
change now.
Robin, I know historically we have a mix of 5/8 and 1 inch. For new construction or new water taps, are we still getting requests for 5/8? I mean, that is so out of date from, the size of houses that are being built in town now.
Yeah, we still get, the majority of them are still 5/8.
Still,
Yes.
it's very short-sighted but that's fine.
Yeah, being that the service line that comes in is 1 inch. You've got that restriction there, so. But yes, there's 5/8, and that's the majority of our meters.
And if that's the case, then I think Earl's point is right.
Yeah,
Mostly.
yeah.
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 So
I'm sorry.
From this-
May I jump in?
Yeah.
So, and this just to make a record about something. Because I have been involved in this process with Austin for a long time. There was a pretty significant amount of work done by Austin, and we don't need to present it all here. I just wanted to be on the record in case somebody challenged it about the cost of providing the service. So when you have an impact fee, it has to be reasonably related to the cost of providing the service. It's my understanding this is actually lower than the cost of the service. He has all of those calculations. So just for the record, I want everybody to know that staff went through that exercise and we're definitely within that range of reasonableness for these fees. And we have that backup if anybody ever needed to take a look at it.
We have the backup that would support us going with a higher rate for a 1 inch versus 5/8.
I don't have all of that with me, but I can tell you that it's my understanding that we're way still significantly lower. So if you did make a slight upward adjustment, you would probably have room within that to support that.
A question about 5/8 versus 1 inch. Now that we have the new requirement for sprinklers, does the size of the meter and the pipes going in make any difference in your ability to sustain the pressure you need to run sprinklers?
Yes. And it's short answer, yeah. But normally what happens is there's a separate line. They tap a separate line in prior to the meter and the curb stop, and it's run off a separate 1 inch line. A lot of times the fire suppression companies will say you need 1.5 inch or 2 inch line, just to do a standard system. But systems can be designed with pumps and tanks using the 1 inch line with the equipment being inside a house room somewhere. So normally a 1 inch line, separate 1 inch line tapped off the 1 inch service line coming in is adequate.
So would that be 2 impact fees?
Right.
No, because I don't think we charge the impact fee because it's not tapped off the line.
Correct.
It's not tapped off the main line.
So you've all been in my house. My house required a 2 inch fire tap because of the volume of it. And it's tapped separate from the domestic water, and there was no impact fee on it.
And we do not,
And they don't charge for it.
yeah, you don't meter the fire suppression line.
Oh, okay. So that wasn't just because it's Tom that it was.
That's how he fills his pool up. Let me get that on the record. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
No, it's just that I was the first one in the town to put a fire suppression system in.
Max, when you were saying that working with Austin, that within that range, and Robin too, what do you mean? What do you mean the range? What was he considering? You say we're well below that.
Yeah,
Are
that's
we,
correct.
we've historically been well below everybody else, and this has been a
That's right. This has
big loss of money to this board.
this-
So, I mean, are we charging enough, I guess is what my question is. If
we
there's,
can revisit that probably at another time.
Okay.
I think we wanted, it's my,
get this on the record.
remember, I'm just sort of jumping in.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of
Put me on
jump
the
in and
spot,
jump
sorry.
out, but I have personally seen some of the calculations that were done.
Uh-huh.
And you could certainly raise those impact fees more and still be within the reasonableness range. But speaking with Mike, I did not speak with Austin, but I spoke with
Okay.
Mike. And this is well within that range.
If we're changing things, because we really have been losing a lot of money over the years on these impact fees. If we're gonna change it, it'd be good to get it to where where it should be.
So I don't know what, because in the last several months, I have not been as closely involved. I'm just giving you what my understanding is. I know this work has been done or at least worked on. I think this was a sort of a stopgap measure and that they were going to come back at a later time because there's some other figures that need to be built into the calculation.
Should we refer to it as an interim?
Well, no,
Number?
no, I mean, it is the number
Yeah.
until such time as you change it.
I'd really like to understand that more,
So,
better.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is
Yeah.
we can say, this is okay for now. We're gonna revisit some of these numbers with more information.
I'm going to go outside of Lewes BPW just for a moment. I'm going to talk about another jurisdiction I represent, which is Newcastle County, and they have a capital recovery fee for certain sewer installations. And when they initially said it, they decided that it was going to be, I think it was 21,000. This is a decade ago. It's going to be capital recovery fee is going to be 21,000. And then at the same time, they invoked a study because the best of their, they had a study and they looked at it and they had Red Oak Consulting and they came in and they said, well, really, that place is a little too high at 16. So they dropped it. But based upon the best information available at that time, when they said it was 21, you guys are doing the opposite. So based upon the best information available, if you take my hypothetical, right, you're setting it to the 16 at this point in time. And then while the rest of the information is coming together, it may very well go up. I'm very comfortable with these numbers.
I'd be okay, Preston, and you were the one that pushed us, and I'm glad you did, approving this. And then having a couple other things looked at just to make sure, because why lose money when next month, you know?
And I think that's what's also installed to kind of get
Yeah.
up,
Get started
to get it, and then do a more in-depth study into it. So you come back.
in the
And then
next, in the next
make
board meeting.
Okay.
So Austin did the calculations. That's going to be tough.
Yes.
Well, he'll be back by then, right? First order of business.
I can maybe add some,
I think you're,
Apparently it works, even though you can't hear it.
yeah.
I can maybe add some history. I know when your current rates were established back in 2002 for the water system, there was a clearly defined capital improvement program, and that's how we established those impact fees back then based on the upcoming capital project list. That list has been completed a long time ago. We got all new projects, so it probably deserves to be looked at again in the future. And I also can recall, I know you can't believe that from 22 years ago, but I do recall that the board at that time decided to keep the 5/8 and the 1 inch the same rate because at least at that time, the idea was, well, they're just residences and they actually use about the same amount of water per day, per month, whether it's 5/8 or 1 inch. Of course, it can be revisited. And there's certainly data available that supports from 5/8 to 1 inch, more flow can go through that meter that would result in a higher impact fee if you want to go that way in the next study.
Look, I've got 1 inch, I think, And I think I should have paid a higher amount. I just think that's the way it should be.
All right, do we have a motion to?
So it would be my- So with the understanding though, that, this is an interim rates. And I know that there's been some talk at the table about raising that, since we're going to be doing further analysis. I mean, you can raise the rate if you want to, but I think because it's my understanding that it was done not to change anything that had been done in the past. I see nods. I'm doing my best from my conversations I've had a little while ago. So to keep it the same, but there are going to be further study and revision to the cost. But if you did decide you wanted to raise that 1 inch, there's room there. I'm confident you're not going to be overcharging.
Oh.
In the current vote today, what would you recommend based on on your analysis?
See, that's the problem. It wasn't my analysis. I just looked at the analysis. So there's the problem. I know what the analysis said, and there was a lot more room to it. There was a lot more, I'm going to say, sharpening of the pencils that we needed to finish.
Yeah.
But it's very clear that there's room in there for additional increases.
But I'd like to approve this
Yeah, I agree.
with the stipulation that we review it and come back within 6 months.
Tomorrow.
She can do that. She can do that.
Friday.
Yeah.
That's right, that's right.
That within 6 months,
You're
give,
good.
you know,
You're-
reasonable amount of time that we,
And if they can do it faster,
Yeah.
all the better.
yes.
So you don't think just picking an arbitrary increase like $3,000 or
No,
something?
I think that's,
Well, that's what I'm trying to prevent against.
Okay,
An arbitrary
that's
increase.
what I wanted to hear. Okay.
It's not what you wanted to hear. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, what's a reasonable period? 3 months?
3 months, I think is.
2. I don't know. I don't know.
I
No,
think,
I like Press's 6 months. We've got so much going on right now. Adding this to the burden of staff in 3 months is probably not reasonable, is my suggestion.
6 months? You good with 6, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good with 6.
I'm sure in 6 months, within 6 months, we can definitely come back with something. Again, it might not be, that's just maybe a starting point. But we can come back within 6 months, I'm sure, with some sort of
I
calculation.
think you're better than that, but if that's who you say you are, we'll.
Max, you mentioned
I just
the
don't wanna
calculation that go
shortcut it.
into it. What requirement is there to the ratepayer to see what's behind the calculations?
so I've done actually most of the rate challenges that have been brought and things like this. And the test in a case called Sterling Properties and also in the Newark landlord permit fee litigation, which was a class action. There is, the cost of the impact fee, it has to be reasonably related to cost of providing the services. Like it can go up, over, or not, right? So what do the courts look to? They look at what evidence is in the record. And that's why I spoke today, because I wanted to make sure that there was a record that we had gone through this process to at least justify the fee. And we have calculations. A lot of times what folks do, and bigger municipalities, is they, do a rate study or a cost study. They hire a consultant of some kind and they go in and do that to go ahead and set the fee. Like I talked about the county and the Red Oak study. You're not required to go through that level of detail, right? But it's certainly a slice of the system when you're adding taps, when you're adding 100 houses or you're doing whatever, right? And what's the cost of that slice of system? You can't just say, well, I think it's $10,000, right? You can't say that. You have to have a justification for what it is. And the fees that have gotten people into trouble in other contexts, especially there's a famous case out of Westchester, and it's probably 15 years old, where the judge went through and sort of picked at every one of their justifications. So you want to make sure that you have those, right? Delaware, it's not that, but you got to have evidence, right? It can't be. And I know we use the word arbitrary. That's exactly what we can't do. Be arbitrary. I'm sorry to talk so much on this subject, but
No, it's helpful. It's very helpful. Yeah. So I just worry about how many new connections we're going to have before we address it to the appropriate rate. So I'm okay with 6 months or sooner if possible.
Yeah, we can work on it sooner. It's just,
Yeah.
we just don't want to lock into a 2-month period and then we're coming up with something that's, could be an issue
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
at the rates
With-
starting as the notes April 1st.
With condition that we revisit it in 6 months.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So this is item number 9. Moving on. So O&M budget, open forum general discussion on the draft 24-25 O&M budget. Kim and Robin.
All right, for the O&M, I was just gonna go over the changes from last month as it was presented. The column for the actuals have been updated, that just February and March are estimated. On line 10 for salaries, that has been changed to the actual increases instead of an estimate. On line 13 for professional and contractual under wastewater, I added the $250,000 for the lift station study. For line 15 admin, I did the actual increases for the employees, the benefits, the rent, 10 months of the employee that we expect to hire, half of the strategic plan and the cost of service study. On line 23, interest and expense. For water, I added the water tower and canal crossing. Just so you know, the first bill is $13.34 for the water tower and $18.18 for a canal crossing. I multiplied that by 3 for the October payment because that seems to be a multiplier for the couple other interest-only payments that we have. And then line 25, sale of asset / inventory adjustments. Our physical count is completed for electric and water, so I've updated those numbers even though you haven't seen it on your year-to-dates yet because it is in March. And with that, if you guys have any questions.
What concerns do you have? Any?
I don't like
You don't like?
the negative numbers for wastewater.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
That would be our operating at a loss, but our bottom line, we're making a little bit of money after impact fees and interest. But those are things that we can't necessarily control, the market and how many people are connecting.
So, and just to put this in perspective, so our operating revenue is expected to be for electrical, $12 million. And we're talking about a $900,000, 538, $800,000 or $900,000 from the Beasley, because of the Beasley issue.
Well, that's not Beasley issue, but
Oh, I'm sorry, no,
it's generation.
the generation, the
Lack
fact
of
that-
capacity issue.
yeah, I'm sorry, I should not have said that, but, so it's a significant portion of our revenue. And I know we said, Kim, you were gonna come back with more detailed numbers, but I just want to put it in.
More information, there will be a new suggestion to budgets.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out the impact of that issue. All right,
For an approval of this, or are you asking for more time for wastewater and also electric? Or both?
Yeah, I thought
I
we were
would
waiting.
ask for an approval as it's presented now with the ability for me to come back as I get more information,
That will be,
as it comes in.
but you think within the month?
Yes.
It's like.
I can say it will definitely be within the budget.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Anyone second?
Nobody wants to be
Not all at
involved.
once.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. And all those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so it's 4-1. This is item 12. Okay, moving on. So the draft capital budget.
Okay, what we have here is the 5-year capital improvement budget. The original one was sent out last month at the meeting for the review by the board. After a couple of discussions, there was some comments and some feedback from the board. And minor adjustments were made to that original draft. Austin sent out an email on the 25th noting some of the changes. One was adding the headwork project back into the budget because of the lead times and the project got moved back some into this fiscal year or this upcoming fiscal year. There was an increase in the price of the bucket truck and the derrick digger truck. So that moved up from 460 to 540. And then at the request of Barbara, we just noted at the bottom of the sheet on page 3, the grants and the principle for forgiveness, which shows the Donovan Smith project and the Capes Cove project. Just as a reference to show those projects are in the works. They don't affect anything because they're principal forgiveness. So they're just in there to show that the projects are actively moving forwards.
And therefore that money, that 6 million is not reflected in any of the presented budgets.
Correct. Just to go over maybe some highlights, unless you want to go over everything line item to line item. In the water section, we got then on line 16. We got the canal crossing. That's currently set for 24, 25 and 25, 26. That's going to be a new water main that's going to, is proposed to run from the trail at Gill's Neck all the way to near the wastewater plant and down American Legion Road and connect into Savannah Road. We already have the loan closed on that. GMB submitting the necessary permits because we got to go under the canal, Army Corps and DelDOT. We've been working with the state, or they have been working with the state on the trail access. They were very reasonable, letting us put it in a spot at the end of the trail without major issues. And we have to work with Mr. Kennedy on temporary construction easement for some of the equipment, but that's all looked favorable. So we're moving forward with that. Number 19 is the lead service line replacements. That's a continuous mandated thing from the federal government. We have to do inventory on our lead services and identify the knowns and the unknowns. And we're probably we've got 120 Water assisting us with the inventory list. We'll probably have to send out some sort of customer survey with hopefully get some assistance from the residents to find out some information on the piping that inside the house, because we're responsible for 2 foot inside the house, part of this project. So it's going to be an ongoing thing.
When will that start? Any
We
idea?
already started the inventory listing. We got to have the inventory listing back to the government by October 16th of this year. That's just the inventory listing. And then we start the process of potential replacements.
So the $50,000 that's pegged in annually is just for inventory, not for any remedial responsibility?
No,
that you
it's
know?
probably going to have to be, start to replacing some of them.
That's included in the 50.
Yes, I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I mean, that's
Yeah.
it. That's just the question.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
In the water production side, of course, we got the water tower project going. It's currently set for fiscal year 24, 25, all the way up to 26, 27. GMB's finalizing some designs and the details. Possible bidding going out in a couple months. If we need a lot more details, Charlie or Ben can supply them as needed.
And we still have the option of a smaller than 1 million gallon tank.
Correct, that's going to be one of the bid options, and there's the 1 million, and then there's going to be the 750.
I think we talked about this, but we should have the header in before the tank goes up. And they'll be able to measure the increase, see what the actual flow is from the wells once the new header's in there. And that way we can adjust the size of the tank if it's much higher than we're assuming.
Is that factored into what is shown on the sequencing of the headers and the tank?
I think that's how the plant, I'm not sure how the header project will start before the tower project.
Right.
So most of that's probably going to be in the 24, 25. Some of it could potentially go into 25, 26.
But we have to know what the capacity of the header is before we can order the tank.
Why is that, Press? I mean, I thought we were looking for,
If the capacity of the wells is more than we think it is, or see now, which we hope it'll be much more, that could reduce the size of the tank needed. Remember that discussion?
well, I thought we still needed a minimum amount in the air for fire, pressure, all of that, and power outages. So I thought we were going to decide on the size of the tank based upon the pricing difference. And that we knew we needed a minimum of 750, but if a 1 million gallon tank wasn't that much more, the incremental change would be worthwhile.
I think we ought to look back at the calculations that GMB did and see with the real number rather than just an assumed number.
Well, I mean, we're a little bit, I wouldn't say we're behind an eight ball, but the header pipe's under construction. The issue has always been that it requires ductile iron pipe for the entire replacement of that header pipe. At one time, there was a 1-year lead time on that. Now it's only 4 months. So they're going to be installing that header pipe this summer.
We'll know what the capacity of that system is by this summer.
No, I don't think they'll be entirely done the project because they got to make
Oh.
all the different connections inside each well house too. I mean, I don't know what we're projecting for the final time or completion date. Yeah, we don't have the pipe in hand, so they said it was 4 months and they've ordered it, but we don't have it in hand. I would say end of the year, best case scenario, because they got to do a lot of work inside each well house too. It takes a lot of coordination to do that work in coordination with replacing each section of the header pipe so that.
That's not all, it's not all in that project then. It's not all in the header project.
What, the tower?
No, the connections to the wells themselves.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's all in there, but you got to sequence that so that
Yeah.
you can keep running
Well,
water.
when do you think that will all be done?
That's what we're saying, like best case scenario, end of the year, probably overlapping.
But can't we do an hydraulic test on the header to see what the changes are from what they are today? We have an idea. You measured it some way, right?
I mean, let us think about it.
Yeah.
We can think about it and let the board.
Because
know.
that was a big part of that calculation is how you designed that tank. And if the water.
It was a big unknown because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. We know what it does now. We don't know what it's going to do when the new header pipe goes.
But we'll know it once it's in place, even if all the connections aren't made, I would think.
I'm just afraid that we're going to put this out for bid, the tank I'm talking about, in a few months. You know, by August, September, the bids will be in front of you,
We're gonna
but we won't know that information that you
have two bids. right?
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll have,
Two sizes.
yes, yeah, we'll have an alternate price for however we decide to do it, either the 750.
So as long as we don't finalize the purchase size of the tank,
Yeah. I'm just saying though, if I come back, if Ben and I come back in September with a recommendation to award, we would have to decide then, because then they've got to order the tank and then there's a lead time on the tank too.
but now we're saying the header could be finished summer.
No, no, it's not going to be done in the summer. It's going to be best case scenario done at the end of the year, probably overlapping a few months into 2025.
Which, I mean, if we take your argument, Press, it means we shouldn't even go out for bid on the tanks at this point, because they're only gonna give you a 30-day, 60-day period to accept the proposal.
Well,
And we won't know what the issue is.
since the capacity of that header heavily impacted the size of the tank, I think we should know what that header capacity is before we order the tank.
That gets into what Tom's talking about, the time frame for bidding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe we can talk about that with.
Yeah, if you
So,
look, that was my. I mean, it had, in looking at that calculation, that flow was a major impact on the size of the tank.
Yeah.
And why couldn't we wait a couple months to get a feel of what that capacity is before we order the tank?
Yeah, let us think about
All
that.
right.
I mean, I think.
All right, I mean, my question there is,
Bidding, I don't know that it might push some of those dollars back into that 26, 27 timeframe, but we don't even know that yet. But I think for the purposes of your budgeting, the money allocation is about right.
Oh, good, that's good.
because we're accepting the fact that we know we only have 300,000 gallons in the air right now. And
Yeah.
potentially pushing off into the future, so there's that risk aspect also.
But the future is only a few months. I mean, I don't think it's years.
All right.
Why
We
would
can,
you over-design the tank if we could save a few $100,000 by keeping it a bit smaller, the tank more in line with what we really needed? I thought this is what we discussed.
Yeah, I don't recall the engineering aspects, but I know we don't want to spend more than we need to.
We need all the money we can get. Keep it.
For sure. You just, I mean, you'll look again to see if there's some way to finesse or accelerate
The header.
that the decisions.
Let us think about
Yeah.
it.
I had a question going back to the lead service line replacement. If we're responsible for 2 feet into people's houses, and we're asking them to tell us what they have, is that the idea, or?
We could potentially ask for their assistance because the only way to guarantee to know some of these things would be to dig a hole in their yard. At the edge of the house to say, okay, this line going in their house is copper or is it galvanized, is it plastic? So to alleviate a lot of that digging, you just get with the owner and hopefully the owner can assist us in giving that information to us. And then you put that in the inventory listing to show that it's this line going in the house is galvanized or copper or whatever. It just gives you a feel what it is.
You would have to dig a
Inside.
hole? You couldn't go into their crawl space and look?
We can do that, but then that's manpower that someone has to do if we
Yeah.
can get the owners to do it.
Right.
That's why the assistance from the owners of the property helps us. Yes, some of them, we're gonna have to do that ourselves,
Because they may not know.
correct? Or
Right.
some of them are gonna look at that survey and throw it in the trash and say, I'm not gonna give it to you. I don't care.
Do we have to do any sampling? I mean, if we took water samples, Could we ask people to have their water tested for lead? And could
Yeah,
we tell that
that's-
way?
That's something that's an option too. But it's just different options out there that
Yeah,
you're trying to find. You want to narrow down the unknowns when you do your inventory listing. Mhm.
I know, don't ask me how exactly it works. Try to narrow down your unknowns, but you're never gonna know everything, right? So one thing that 120 Water has is an algorithm that, once you get as much data as you can possibly find, they've got an algorithm that's successful across the
Blank of the blanks kind of thing.
and they kind of can figure out, well, this is an area where you've got a lot of lead services. This is an area where you have a problem. And at least start with that. I don't know every specific about that. But
Yeah.
that's kind of their expertise.
okay. But if we have to go into people's homes, is that a legal issue, liability issue? Do we have to get written permission? Is that?
You certainly need permission.
Unless you go really late.
So you guys are bringing up all the things that I've spent my misspent career on today. There is essentially, if someone won't let you in, the only way you can get in is through the warrant requirement. And but most of the time for things like this, you'll get voluntary assistance from folks. In other words, there's going to be a very high percentage. It's not like you're trying to come in and do an assessment or whatever, or getting after them for this, that, or the other. But we could talk offline, and I could give you a lot on this particular subject. But basically, I think that when it comes to coming into people's home for something like this, when you knock on the door, those who understand who you are, and you guys are a pretty local community, so it's not like it's a stranger or you have that kind of issue. Generally, you get pretty high compliance for something like this.
Thank you.
So as it relates to the comment of water pipe assessment, right? So I'm looking at line 8. Has mayor and city council come up with any kind of answers as it relates to the pervious and impervious surfaces?
And we have a policy that says where possible, we'd use it. I mean, I think that.
I just didn't know if you had any I thought you guys maybe had another meeting or something or.
Yeah, and for those things, we would rely on Charlie, whether it's an area that can handle pervious surface or not. I mean, but
4th Street will not be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a street. It's got too much traffic.
and
load
yeah,
on it.
that's part of it, right? The weight.
Yeah, pervious is really good where the traffic loading's far, like the beach side, stuff like that, but not on 4th Street.
I
So,
think that's how it's worded. It
Yeah.
says where feasible.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we had it dialed into our numbers the right way. So when you look at 4th Street, which you just mentioned, there's a water pipe assessment. How are you delineating water pipe assessment versus actually going in and doing it? So is it possible you would go there and you don't need to do something? Okay, that's why I
Oh,
was the word.
Yeah, I asked Austin about that.
Yeah.
And he said that's in there because this is how they set the priorities. We
Okay.
did the water pipe study, assessment study.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
It's all iron pipe.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. So, okay.
Under the wastewater plant, of course, as Mike said, from Inframark, the Headworks project is moving forwards. I think we still got an estimated completion date of end of August of this year. So hopefully that'll take care of a few issues down there. Under the electric, of course, there's the AMI, which will be discussed a little later this evening. Got several undergrounding projects. We have some existing underground wire in these areas. Back in the day, they didn't require installing conduits for these wires, so Rhett likes to go in and do some preventative maintenance plan on a lot of these areas. Running new wire, but putting conduit in so for future, if we have any issues, it's not easy to replace it. So we have several combined projects, which are, as you just said, One of them is Monroe Avenue, which is water, sewer, and wastewater. I guess I'll put the mayor on the spot. We've noted it as on hold because
You're
of
talking about,
the Monroe
Monroe?
Avenue Railroad.
yeah.
And I
think
didn't know if
we
that was in,
changed- I think this year we changed priorities to do, pilot down village projects from a resurfacing, that's our plan. And then to follow the fourth, I mean, if West Fourth gets started.
I haven't seen the approved budget yet, but Alan Ray told me that Monroe Railroad was in the budget because it's not a street maintenance project like Pilot Town Village. It's a capital project. But one thing is that we are waiting on a grant request that we made through FEMA for 2 different pots of money to cover the cost of the permeable parking areas for both Monroe and Railroad. So we really can't put it out to bid until we know that, you know, what kind of, if that funding were to come through. So that's part of it while we're on delay.
so yeah, so that project, basically, we show it on hold. So if that project moves forward, the assumption is we're going to move forwards with our project too. So that money allocated for these fiscal years will stay in there. So it was all contingent upon whether the city was going to move forwards this year or not. We also have the Hornkill, which is a water, sewer, and wastewater. I mean, water, sewer, and stormwater. This is the 11 properties on Hornkill that are currently outside the city. They have requested annexation and water service. But only 6 of the properties have requested annexation. So the board's going to have to hold some future discussions on how we're going to move forwards, if we want to move forwards with this project. Piecemeal.
We're gonna be forming, they have, petition to annex, and so, probably after our election, or at least after if there's not an election after the new, May meeting, the annual meeting, we'll probably reconvene, an annexation committee to look at that, but as Robin said, right now, there's not unanimity, so we're hoping that over time there will be, but we've given them all the incentives that we can. What we have said publicly, and we'll stick to this, is there is that ARPA money, and whether they annex or not, we're willing to commit that to the project, because we recognize that getting them off septics is a priority.
Can I comment on that? The numbers that are in front of you are for the entire. From Pilot Town Road all the way to the end of the road, including the 11 homes. The board did put in state revolving fund applications through the water and sewer, through DEMEC and Office of Drinking Water, and those projects were prioritized. So the funding will be available. On the wastewater side, it looks like it would be a loan. And I don't know what the terms are. I think it's going to be 2% on either 20 or 30 years, which the board might have the choice. On the water side, it's definitely 2% loan, but there's also some subsidy being bantered about. The amount, we don't know yet, but it's on the list with shown as a prioritized project with subsidy. We asked about that yesterday. And Office of Drinking Water doesn't have the final numbers from the federal government, so they couldn't tell us what the exact subsidy amount would be. And that was, for the water side, it was $750,000. It'd be nice, but I don't know. It may end up being $50,000. I don't know. We'll see, but just want to keep you informed on that.
Those houses that are close to the canal, how many houses out there have septic tanks?
Those 11.
Just those 11?
Some worse than others.
There are also ones that are on the other side of Canary Creek that aren't part of the city that would potentially be dangerous about leaching into Canary Creek that way, but in the city's borders, that's it.
Yeah, out that way.
There's a house or two on Cedar just off Pilot Town that's on septic. Yeah, just as you turn off on the right side as you're heading out of town.
Oh, New Road, yeah.
Oh, New Road.
Yeah.
Are you self-confessing over there?
Well, there's a couple there. Cedar New Road.
Swannendale Acres, but
Yeah.
That's over by them, there's one part that
Yeah.
they're all on septic. Et cetera.
What is it? What's the one across from Schofield? That's
Oh, yeah,
in
one of
ours,
the
but not
Wolfies,
yours.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wolf Run. and
That's all septic, right?
No, they're being served by
By the county.
yeah.
No, I actually talked to someone,
Yeah,
I talked to someone who's in one of the original Wolves. One of the Wolves is on sewer.
yeah.
One of them's
Oh,
on
You're
septic.
right. It's
Yeah,
Wolf
at
Point,
Wolf
they're on
Run.
sewer. Wolf Run is, they're actually. They're.
Cause I thought the same, I thought that, cause I made the comment that we were taking their effluent in the off season. They said, no, we're on septic. And,
Yeah.
You're right.
But they're planning,
Yes.
county has
The
it.
county's got a design
Yeah.
underway for that. Yes.
Look, I'm a big fan of getting stuff out of the canal like that, because that's where it's going at some point.
Absolutely.
One of the other,
That's the Broadkill River watershed, the Broadkill and the Delaware Bay, those have houses out there, which is kind of odd, because it goes into Canary Creek.
But as it relates to Hornkill, just one more thing. No, not the Hornkill. When you talked about the 4th Street, I assume as we go down 4th Street, we'll be able to tell which roads would that line off that, how good they are, how the piping, is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, we already have some sense of that just from our water main assessment work. The plan for if we were to do the 4th Street project alone would be to do all the infrastructure work, including the water, and then stub out each one of those side streets on the 4th Street right away, so that in the future, pick up from that point, not serve 4th Street. That's the plan.
But good, thank you.
And along the lines, or on that line, we've offered to the city that we would get we could revise our request to the state to get funding for the streets so that, and then get a repayment plan from the city so that they wouldn't have to take out a bond for like the pavement on 4th Street or Hornkill.
if I'm correct, and that was part of the original NOI, right? This, it included the paving of the streets for Hornkill and 4th. So that's already part of the,
Hornkill and what?
and 4th Street.
4th Street, okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
But were the sidewalks included, Robin?
Yes,
Okay.
Well, not only.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, not on Hornkill,
Yeah, not on Hornkill, obviously.
but kind of like the same thing goes for 4th Street too. We did an NOI and I think it was ranked by DHSS 4th on the priority. Yeah, Hornkill was number 1
And-
on the priority list.
And the budget doesn't show it starting until 25, 26.
By the time the project gets moving and funding, and yes, that's as early as, and realistically, even probably anyway, that would be the earliest. Maybe sooner, but
Yeah, there's so many unknowns right now in terms of the annexation and, you know, how the board's gonna handle the fact that only 6 out of the 11 have agreed to participate. If those, let's just say best case scenario, all that stuff gets worked out favorably, still it would take some time for the board to close on the loan for Hornkill. I think they're accepting the full applications by the end of June. By the time they go on and we get to closing, it could be close to the end of the year, I think. They would allow for the design to get going, and they would pay it back as part of the loan in the future. They'll pay like back costs like that. But that's complicated by the fact that we would probably want to go after some planning grants, which you can't start those until you get the purchase order for the planning grant. So there's a lot of balls up in the air. So that's why the 25-26 makes more sense for budgeting.
For the 4th Street project, is the timing considering the bridge The bridge that's going out on New Road.
Construction,
Yeah.
yeah. Even that's a little funny because the way they've got, the latest we found out from DelDOT is that the utility crossings at New Road Bridge are fall of 25. And the actual bridge reconstruction is fall of 26, which is when we would really want to coordinate our 4th Street project when the road shut down while they do the bridge. But that's a couple years out too, so we have to work. I don't know what kind of, I don't think there's gonna be like full disruption of the bridge when they're doing utility crossings. There'll still be cars being able to pass through, I'm pretty certain. It's that next year when they actually do the bridge that for shut down. That's when we would really like to do the 4th Street project. It would be tight for us to get the 4th Street project done in 8 or 9 months, but we could do it. Did 2nd Street in 8 months.
Thanks.
That's basically the kind of like a high level brief overview of everything. I mean, if you're looking at the bottom number, if everything on this list for the 5 years is $33 million. These projects, of course, are not set in stone. The years, most of them can be moved around. As we all know, there was some conversations with some residents out there on Park Avenue and the Burton subdivision regarding water quality. So, you know, if that's a consideration to, you know, maybe try to incorporate some of that into the 4th Street project. The state has been receptive to possibly adding additional monies to the 4th Street project. But that's for a board to consider if that's something look to it along with everything else on here.
And Robin, we have until June to revise our request.
Correct.
So, you know, that's one of the reasons why we don't want to push 4th Street off is we know it's one of the oldest lines in the city. And, you know, we want to move forward on that project.
Correct. So, we can do several things. There's several options. You can approve it as it is. You can make changes to it if you like, shuffle things around, or
Flavor of the board.
We reserve the right to get smarter, but I think this is the best thing we got right now.
So is that a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the capital budget as proposed.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Can I just add something before we move off of budget? I am looking to transfer $1.5 million from operating account to money market account. According to our charter, it says it can be done administratively, but it kind of reads like the opposite direction, that in cases of emergency, admin can move to operating. So I just wanted to put that out there, see if there is any objection from moving from operating to money market. 1.5 million,
Great.
4.5%.
What firm are you going with? I'm just curious.
It'll be the UBS.
I would just ask that you look at potential other options,
Okay.
because I'm getting 5% at a local bank. So something to consider.
Discover Bank has really good rates too.
I'd say whatever the best rate is what I would say. And there's a term
You need a
issue.
motion.
No, not for money market. She's saying
But
move
they
it to
can
a money market.
But they can expire. Usually they're
Oh, you mean the percentage you're getting. Yeah, I see.
Yes,
all
that's,
right.
yeah,
So
that is,
do we-
question is,
The
Something
way the
that's
charter reads, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like we need an approval. It's just, I'm trying to
just to let the board know that this is
Yeah.
happening.
With the caveats of,
money
yes.
market
Yes.
of, if there's a better interest rate, take advantage of it.
A reputable bank.
Depending on the rate.
No Bitcoins or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just started yesterday.
Do we choose?
All right. Moving on, item 14. DEMEC. Has Scott been on the line all along?
No, I actually spoke with Scott about this, and he was asked not to come.
Oh, okay.
So basically, it's for the grip footing. It's to, and as it was explained to me, is to make the exact same request we made last year. Go through that exact same request, give him authorization to make the request. We may or may not get money, but it's to put it in the queue. So, so Scott has not been on the line, and he was especially asked not to come. That's functionally, they asked us to do exactly what we did last year and see if we get any money.
Okay, and that was just simply sending a letter to DEMEC, supporting, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And the letter was in your packet, already signed by Austin already. All basically, you just want some sort of motion from the board to say it's okay to send that.
Oh, it actually has.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Consent, no, not that I'm aware of anyway.
I make a motion that we approve the signing and sending of that application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, okay. Option, item, and I think 15 and 16 we can combine. So open forum general discussion on option 1 and 2 for the wastewater treatment plant and the long range plan for the wastewater treatment plant. So Barbara, do you have anything more to add on?
I think, the committee has been disbanded and we presented our report, finalized it. Did the final report go out yet, or is that waiting for, or? Oh, okay. Okay, so there is a version of the final report that needs to be approved. The next logical step would be to submit a request for proposal to HRD, the consulting engineering firm we worked with, the committee worked with, and probably GHD to do an engineering assessment. And whether the time is ripe for that, I don't know. I think that, as long as we're making progress with the county, it probably doesn't make sense, but we went through the process, the CREATE process with EPA and their consultants. And, that was very helpful. They gave us annual costs for option 1 and option 2, which were capital and O&M over 25 years with a 5.5% discount rate. And for option 1, which was hardening, that was about 3.4 million annually. For a new site, that was 4.1 million annually. And then a worst case for going with Sussex would be about 7.5 million annually, but that's worst case. So something to bear in mind.
Which one was C2? That was the middle, right? Or am I dreaming this?
C2.
As far as the options.
That option 2 was building a new plant offsite. Yeah. Okay. So, we could ask for a proposal from a couple of firms and ask them to make it stretching out for 6 months, so we'd have something to look, to hold their prices firm for 6 months. It wouldn't be committing to anything, but it would give us an idea if we feel like the time is ripe to compare what the county is offering us to what the other options are out there. Or we could just raise this every month and decide whether and when the time is ripe.
Okay, so if I can suggest we take it in 2 bites, Barbara. So
Yes.
the first one is Barbara went through and did minor editorials and extracted from the report the GHD study and what was the other part?
The minutes we took out.
Minutes. I've looked it over and that is not, there's no changes from the original report that the board approved other than to get it down to a reasonable size. And she put pointers in the report that show where the minutes are and where the GHD study can be found on our website. So I think we should have a motion to approve that as the final report because it's currently on our website as draft.
It's on the website as draft in the form that you just earlier described. Minutes were referenced and the engineering study was referenced, but it wasn't included in the actual report.
It was included in the draft report.
Right.
Yes, but yeah,
But
we're pulling them out.
Right.
Essentially, she just pulled out the supplemental information. She
Yes.
left the whole report. She just, the GHD report, that was how many, 60 pages long? We just pulled that out.
Okay.
So it's just the condensed version.
We've already approved that.
You accepted it.
Full-
You did not approve it.
Okay.
Mhm,
Right.
So that's the difference.
mhm.
So we've seen it
Yes.
and there was no objection to receiving it.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. And so now we're looking to get the board's approval of the report so it can be posted as final on the website.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the report as just described.
What if we added a caveat that said that we reserve the right to go back and look at it and bring it back up with the right, different information if it comes along?
Well, we have the right to reconstitute the committee at any point.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but I mean, I don't know that has to be part of this motion. The board can do that at any time.
So I get the feeling you're thinking if it's out there as draft, then updating it at a later date would be easier to swallow. But on the other hand, we could do a supplement or
Amendment.
yeah.
I'll leave that to your wording and your wording.
Okay,
Motion on the floor.
yes.
Do we have a second?
Am I allowed to second it?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Spain.
Okay, so it's 4-1. Okay. And on the second item, which is whether to go out for proposal now or later. Any discussion on that? My feeling is, I think what Barbara said at the end of that discussion, that we should just keep this on the agenda. And as things move forward, we can determine when to and to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, and why should we ask engineers to spend the time to put the proposal together if we're not going to need it? We're not going to act on it. And I would let HDR know that, since I think they're waiting to hear from us what the status of it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of burn some bridges if you falsely trigger things, so.
Yes, yes, okay.
And we have, if all this else falls through, we have, I don't want to say all the time, but we have more time to do that then. So is everyone else okay with that?
Odds, I don't know if you.
So I don't think we need a motion on that then.
No, okay.
All right. And then, I mean, as I said at the beginning, we're continuing discussions with the county. There are some things in the offering, and we really are, to the general public, looking to put together another workshop. But we have to get some things solidified before we do that. Right now, there are too many moving pieces to present anything that's coherent. I think that's all I had on the long-term wastewater treatment plant options. God, you guys are quiet. All right, call to the public.
Buddy Tom.
All right, call to the press. Is Bill still there?
Yeah, yes.
He's good.
Still there.
Penn State must be on somewhere.
All right. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.